How is everyone doing? It is great to see you guys again. We will let folks trickle in here for this first couple of minutes. And you guys already know the drill. I see you answering the poll questions when you get a second. As we all filter in here, go ahead and let us know your answers to those questions. We'll all get reacclimated to the system here.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Oh, I see Stacy. Hi, Stacy. Hello, hello. Okay. So, how many students do we have in this class, Bila? I can go ahead and check. Wait a moment. Let's see. Um,
Slowly but surely, we're trickling in.
yeah. Chris, would you
Okay,
like to do the announcements?
Yeah, since we already have a fair amount of students who are in the meeting, hey everyone, good afternoon and welcome back to our class. I just wanted to remind everyone to please turn on your cameras at all times and also please, put your complete name in your Zoom name so we can tag your attendance accurately. And also, if you are an alumni and student leader, please don't forget to put SL and alumni before your name so we can tag you accordingly for our breakout rooms later. And if you are having any issues with your audio or with your cameras, kindly message YC staff Beulah for any issues so we can tag it in your attendance. That's all. Thank you.
beautiful. Okay, you guys can probably tell from the poll questions what we're going to be talking about here today. But we are going to like re-warm up all of our youth champion muscles and remember all the stuff. Try to remember a little bit at least of what we talked about last semester. And we're going to be getting into goal setting and visions and mindset today. Um, because that's kind of like we kind of have to start there if for the beginning of the semester to set us up for success. And whenever we're starting anything new, I think being able to check in around mindset and goals is always going to be the obvious jumping off point. So let's look at these poll questions. When you start a new goal, what motivates you? Most of us, we kind of got like it's a pretty even split. The vision of the end result being the best, or not the best, the most common answer, and excitement of starting something new. And a couple of us really like the challenge itself. What keeps us from stepping out of our comfort zone? We have fear of failure, we have fear of judgment, lack of confidence, not knowing where to start. It's kind of all over the board. I felt all of those things simultaneously. I wish you could do like a multi-select, like all of the above. Um, yeah, we're going to talk about that. A lot of addressing some of those fears that we have whenever we're starting something new is going to come down to mindset and how we frame what we're about to tackle. So we're going to talk about that today. Um, and keep noodling on this last question because we are going to talk about how we want to show up for the next 12 weeks. It's going to be one of your workbook questions, but this is a great jumping off point. So again, the one word that would describe your focus for the next 12 months, we've got a lot of people saying growth and balance. So continue to ruminate on that, and we'll probably want to expand on those answers when we get to our workbook questions. But hopefully that's getting us a little bit like slowly, we're like warming our muscles up and getting back into the swing of things. And with that, we can go ahead and share the slides and jump into class for today. Okay. Mindset fundamentals. It really is like, to me, it really is the fundamentals. I, for most of you know me. A few of you are new, so I guess I should do maybe a little bit of background so you know who's talking to you and you have some background. My name is Haley, and I do leadership development. I run a leadership development firm and work with folks across all different levels professionally, from CEOs and executives all the way down to new college grads. Go through a leadership development program with me all the time. It's a 10-month program. We do a lot of work, and I love that we start Youth Champions with mindset and mindset fundamentals because it is also where I start the program with every single person that I work with. Like whether you're a CEO that's been through a million leadership development things and like loves all the self-help stuff, or if you're a brand new person that's never taken any um, growth classes before or leadership classes before, it's the way that understanding how our mind works and what we think is important and how we frame what we're stepping into, especially when we have really big goals or really big ambitions and or like fears or nerves, like can make all of the difference. So, I love that we start here. And with that, let's get into the learning objectives for today. And would love if you guys remember, obviously, participation is important. We want you guys to be engaged. I like to think that I'm like fun to listen to, but I'm only so fun. So I don't want this to all be me talking. Um, and we want to keep growing, we want to keep getting out of our comfort zone. That's why we're here at Youth Champions. That's, I think, what a lot of us are working on. So, does anybody want to be our first volunteer of the new year and read our first bullet point for our learning objectives of today? Yeah, Genesis.
Yeah. A clear vision offers direction and purpose, transforming into measurable SMART goals for progress.
I love it. Exactly. Who wants to read the second bullet point? We've got vision. Who's going to tell us about growth? This is easy pickings for your first participation.
Growth occurs outside comfort zones, develops a growth mindset by setting stretch goals and embracing challenges.
Mhm. We are going to be thinking about goals and challenges today. That's going to help us get to the next version of ourselves, right? And thanks, Jessica, who wants to read our final learning objective?
Can I go?
Yeah.
Identify the necessary mindset, focus, and habits for success in the next 12 weeks, committing to the consistency and viewing discomfort as part of growth.
Beautiful. We got 12 weeks, which like the last semester seemed like a long time, but I mean, I was thinking about it today. I'm like, okay, 12 weeks, like that's 3 months. We we've like I don't know. It's not a sprint, it's not a marathon. It's somewhere in between. I think the consistency that we're talking about here in this goal is important. We are going to have to keep showing up week after week and be really thoughtful, not only about how we're engaging with this content, but I think where so much of the beauty and the magic is for you guys to be able to take what we're talking about these classes and be like proactively looking for ways that you can apply it in your day to day. And if we can consistently take just a sliver of what we're talking about in these slides every single week and actually like find ways to implement them, You'll be hopefully very impressed and excited with where you're at the end of 12 weeks. So, with that, let's do a little refresh on let's let's do a little refresh on the content that we covered last week. So these are again the six big buckets of things that we cover over the course of this program. We had a couple of different classes where we touched on mindset. We talked about critical thinking, looking, which had to do with asking really good questions and identifying our blind spots, seeing what we're missing, things that we don't know. We touched on financial literacy. So you guys talked about budgeting basics as well as banking and credit and debt and what how all of those mechanisms work together. We spent some time talking about business skills, and how we can work smarter with the tools that we have at our disposal. We spent time on goal setting and time management. How do we make the most out of our time, and how do we set goals that are really specific and thoughtful? And then we wrapped up looking at character. So if you guys remember, we talked about values, what values are important to us, how do we want to show up? And specifically in terms of leadership, there's, I think, a stereotype of what a leader is. And hopefully we recognized over the course of that class that being a leader, we have opportunities to be leaders in all different facets of our life. It doesn't just have to be in a work context. It has nothing to do with the title that you have. And so just seeing that we have so many opportunities to be leaders in our own life. So that's a brief, very brief overview of kind of all the different topics that we touched on last week. So as you guys are kind of getting back into the swing of things here, does anybody want to share just one thing that that they still remember from last semester that kind of stuck with them all of these months? Feel free to share in the group or throw it in the chat if you would rather um, share something that you remember learning about in the chat. That works too. I'm gonna go first. And you guys keep thinking, but I'm gonna keep trying to jog our memory as we're getting back into it here. Oh, I know for me, one thing that I've been thinking about a lot, especially coming into the new year, is SMART goals and also time management. I'm definitely one of those people that loves the idea of like a new year and a fresh start and thinking about all the different things that I want to accomplish and being able to kind of take a step back and be really specific about what my goals are and make sure that they were measurable and actionable and realistic and time bound was something that I was actually really intentional about. And as I set up my week every single week, always looking back at those SMART goals and being thoughtful about how am I going to make time for that? What is realistic? How am I going to prioritize to make sure that the stuff that's important is first and foremost, and I'm not letting myself get distracted from the stuff that I said was really important. So I know for me coming into the new year, a lot of that goal setting and time management stuff really sticks with me. So I want to hear from somebody else. What's something? It can be something you're implementing now, a random fact that you remember from last semester, anything that's stuck with you. Yeah, okay. We've got some time management. Oh, making your bed. Yes. Oh, Tara is what was I now I forget her name. I think Tara maybe. Making the bed also stuck with me. That was like she really motivated me. I she really motivated me listening to her talking about starting your day by making your bed and having those really good habits. Yeah, Genesis, you got all the SMART goals, 100%. Natalie, you said time management. Natalie, is there anything specific about time management that you specifically remember?
like in school, like remember, like trying to turn in your assignments before the deadline.
100%. Trying to be thinking about how can we be proactive about the stuff that's really important to us. What else? Being able to study in different ways and knowing what could work for you. Does anybody, that's great, Antonio. Does anyone remember one of the study tips that we talked about? Or Antonio, was there a specific study tip that you remember us talking about last semester?
To be honest, I just remember them. I don't remember the specific study methods. I just remember the topic.
All good. Does anyone remember any of the specific study? This is why we do the refresh. We got to get the juices flowing again. Does anyone remember any of the study tips that we talked about last semester? Yeah, Genesis.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this was a study tip, but I do remember like at some point it was mentioned on setting like a specific zone, I guess, your study environment to help you focus.
100%. We talked about what's the best place, like how do we set up our space physically for success? And like what are those little cues that we can do to kind of remind ourselves, like to kind of get into the headspace of, okay, I'm going to do work now. So like maybe you light a candle or maybe you turn on a lamp, or like something like that that is a physical cue that we're about to start working. So, yeah, we definitely talked about our study space for sure. That's awesome. Okay. We're going to keep revisiting these topics over the course of the semester. So, some of it will be a little bit of refresh. I always think it's good to go back and kind of remind ourselves and keep fresh with all of this stuff. So these buckets that we covered last semester, we're going to go back and we're going to some of the principal stuff we'll cover again and make sure we really lock it in. And then some of these topics we're going to go even deeper and explore in new ways over the course of the semester. So with that, we can move into our topic for today. And the first thing that I would love for us to talk about is vision and goals. So, we are setting out on a new semester. We are setting out on a new stint with Youth Champions. It's a brand new year. Feels like as pertinent a time as ever to think about what is it that we want to create. So remember that having a vision, we'll talk about mindset here today, but like for me personally, when we can have a really clear vision of where we want to go and what we want to create, that's going to really set us up for success in terms of um, making sure that we're motivated and we know what the long-term goal is. A lot of the big goals that you guys are going to set for yourselves now and at any point in your life are not going to be goals that you can like knock out in a day, right? They're going to be things that we have to work towards. There's going to be a lot of baby steps, and action items you have to take to get there, right? And if we can have that really clear goal and know that creating that thing is what is driving me, you're going to have a lot more sustained energy and motivation to bring that thing to fruition. So we will work on having a clear vision, but then also to be really specific about what a goal actually means. And Genesis reminded us of these really beautifully in the chat. But again, a SMART goal, as a reminder, we want to be specific. So, what is it that I'm actually trying to accomplish? It's not that I just generally want to make progress on something. I can paint a picture for you of at the end of 12 weeks, let's say, we're talking about youth champions. This is what I would love to have happen. We want to make our goals as measurable as possible, right? If they're quantifiable, it's easier for us to hold ourselves accountable and know if we're actually making progress or not. We want to make sure that they're achievable. We love ambition. We're going to talk about stretch goals. So it's great to push ourselves, that gets us out of our comfort zone. We're going to be talking about that more today. But we also, we want to we want to make sure that we're being realistic. We want them to be relevant. So again, are the goals that we are picking, are they related to stuff that we know is important to us and that will actually move us in a direction that we want to go? Um, and then lastly, time bound. So again, that just helps us to hold things accountable. So it's really easy to get excited at the beginning of the new year and have a lot of ideas for what we want to accomplish, and we're gonna work on that. But then we would just want to ground it in the specifics so that we always have that to look back on, and that can help drive our decision making on a day-to-day basis. Does anyone have questions about vision or goals? Okay. Let's move to the next slide here, and we are going to do our first workbook exercise, I believe. Yes. So we're going to give you 90 seconds or so to work on this. Then we're going to chat about it in breakouts after. But I want you guys to think about a goal you've set in the last year. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a year-long goal. It just needs to be any goal that over 2025 you had set for yourself, and then reflect back, how did that go? Did you reach your goal? Did you not reach your goal? What worked? What maybe made it difficult? But just try to get back to an example of a goal that you set in the last year and write about that for a little bit. Okay. So we gave you a little bit of time to work on that. We're going to put you into breakouts here for just a few minutes. And with your breakout groups, go ahead and describe the goal that you were talking about, report on how it went, see what other people's goals were, and maybe see if you can learn anything from the goals that other people were setting for themselves. So try to find a takeaway or something new from talking with your teammates here.
Hey, Amber and Allison, did you receive the notification for the breakout room. Hey, hey Amber, can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, we're back. I want to hear about a goal that somebody had last year that did anyone succeed at a goal that they were like really excited about? Yeah, Lizzie.
A goal that I had was to have more self-respect, and I achieved this goal by cutting off people that bring negativity to my environment.
Mm. How did it feel when you got to like witness yourself executing the goal?
It felt very nice because I felt like trapped when I was around negativity.
Yeah, I love that. There's so much self-trust that we can like and like confidence in ourselves that we end up gaining as we like set these big goals for ourselves and then see us chipping away at them. Especially a goal like that. That's really awesome. Does anyone else have an example of a goal that they set last year that they ended up achieving? Or does anybody have a goal that maybe they didn't quite get last year, but they're really planning on this year? They're going to try again. Let's see. Oh, we have so many new things in the chat. Oh, just kidding. Yeah, Dante.
I had a goal that I did complete it this year, but not when I wanted to. So I had this personal project, so it wasn't like for school or anything. It was just something that I was trying to complete on my own. And I set a date to finish it, and then I didn't finish it by then. And then several times I changed the date until I finished it. But I would have preferred to finish it earlier.
Do you think, looking back as you're reflecting on the goal, do you think that now that you have more information, would you have set a different goal at the beginning and made the date a little bit more realistic or like pushed it back? Or do you think there's things that you would have changed to hit your original date? Did that make sense? You know what I'm asking?
Yeah. Um, I I probably could have made it later because I wasn't expecting to. I guess the main reason why I didn't finish on time was because I was also doing school stuff before that.
Yeah,
And honestly, by the time I was done with my schoolwork, I wouldn't be that motivated. So like
totally.
I think I did have some time. I could have spent more time on it, but I also think I could have given myself a little bit more time too.
More realistic. Yeah. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot. I think that's a great example of, when to Dante's point, he hit his goal, it was just a little bit later than he hoped. Or I know a lot of people, like we were talking about in my breakouts, like, oh, I had a goal, I didn't quite make it. And it's not, it's not f failure just because we didn't make the goal. Like most of us made a ton of progress. And also there's a ton of things for us to learn. Human beings are not perfect goal setters. And so we get better and better over time as we have more data and learn more stuff about like what is the right goal? Am I setting a goal where I'm pushing myself? Do I need to make any sort of adjustments the next time, the next round, when I set new goals? And so being able to have that little moment of reflection and like see, oh, is there anything that I could change about my goals to make them more specific or more realistic is helpful. Okay, I think we got the goal stuff, yeah? Let's move on to mindset. You can go to the next slide here. So we talked about fixed versus growth mindset at the very beginning of last semester. The main things that we want to kind of remind you guys about today is what it actually means to be in a growth mindset. Now, again, if we think back to Carol Dweck's work, a growth mindset, when we're in a growth mindset, it means that we know that we can continue to improve and get better at what we set our mind to, especially when we put in the work and we get support from people and we have a plan in place that can help us continue to graduate and make progress. Um, and when we are in these areas of growth and we're trying something new and we're doing, we are stretching ourselves, it's not a comfortable place to be necessarily. We tend to find our best growth when we're a little bit uncomfortable. And part of that is knowing that if I'm ever going to reach my potential, I literally cannot do that if I stay where everything is easy and I know I'm in 100% control and everything's going to be perfect. And I think we might have talked about that last time, like the idea of um, like some of us are a little bit of perfectionists and we always we like to have everything squared away, and that's great. And also sometimes if we get too concerned with always being perfect and never making a mistake, sometimes that can hold us back from stretching ourselves. And so when we really want to grow, we want to create goals that are going to allow us to be a little bit uncomfortable. It's going to force us to try something new or do something a little bit differently because when we're in that stretch goal and we're doing that, it's allowing us to learn to flex different muscles, to learn about ourselves. That's when we're actually building new skills. So, the key thing to remember is when we're growing, it probably means that we're getting out of our comfort zone. And so when you notice yourself out of that comfort zone, it's not a bad thing. If we make a mistake, it's not a bad thing. The whole point of the growth mindset is, hey, if I make a mistake, that's literally part of the process. That's part of the learning curve. And as long as we are reflecting on that and learning something from it, and we're thinking about what we can do differently next time, then that's the entire point, right? Does anybody have questions about the growth mindset? I keep seeing chats and I'm like, oh, okay. It's just something AI. Okay. Does anyone have an example of a time where they felt like they were um in like they were getting themselves out of their comfort zone and they were stretching themselves in a new way? Maybe it was a new skill, maybe it was putting yourself in a position that was like a little bit uncomfortable, but it was new for you. Yeah, Lizzie.
You asked a question, right? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I would say being here and talking, because I've had a lot of challenges speaking up for myself and talking through a camera, and it's pulled me out of my comfort zone. I feel more comfortable talking.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's a great example. I think public speaking is a great example. Anytime you guys have to give like presentations for class, if you feel a little bit nervous or like, stressed out going into that, just recognizing that like, oh, that discomfort is part of me flexing a new muscle and doing something differently and building a skill set. So I love what Lizzie said, and I'm sure that's relatable to a lot of folks. Okay, let's move into the next workbook question. We're going to give you guys a few more minutes, a couple minutes, 90 seconds maybe. Um, think about a moment when recently, when maybe you chose to do something that was a little bit more comfortable over doing something that was more challenging. And if you could go back into that moment and you could rewind, what is like a small risk that you think you could have taken? And how might that have helped you grow in hindsight? So we're looking for an opportunity. If we got a redo, where can we have stretched ourselves a little bit more and gotten uncomfortable? Does anyone have an example that they're willing to share of a time where they could have stretched themselves a little bit more in hindsight? Someone who hasn't okay. Or Genesis. Genesis, how about what do you have?
Yeah, I think back to freshman year where I didn't challenge myself in anything, like I didn't do any extracurriculars. I didn't take any APs or honors. So I feel like that weakened me to start off the year because I was afraid of taking that risk of like my GPA dropping because I couldn't handle those challenges.
It's a great example. I love that. And we'll probably all be, um, you guys are selecting classes for high school now, but if anyone goes to community college or a four-year school, there's going to be a lot of, or even your first jobs, like there's going to be a lot of opportunity to pick, oh, what projects do you want to work on? What classes do you want to take? And just being able to notice, like, oh, it scares me a little bit to do that because, like, it might not, I don't know how I'm gonna do. Just even recognizing that and being conscious of like that fear, can be helpful because then we can recognize like, oh, like no, this is a moment for me to stretch and get out of my comfort zone. Like this is part of the process. And I think last semester we talked about there's a balance act. Like we don't want to go so far. I can't remember our exact terminology, but we don't want to go so far where like our whole life feels like chaotic and like we've got stress everywhere. So we want to be realistic about choosing these moments to stretch ourselves and get a little bit uncomfortable in a way that's manageable. So it's not about going too crazy. But I think that's a great example where we could say, you know what? Maybe I picked this class instead of this one because it's going to be a little bit harder, but I think I have the bandwidth and I want to stretch myself and see if I can do it. Anyone else have an example? Someone who hasn't shared yet? Delilah, do you have an example of a time where you think you could have challenged yourself, chosen more of a challenge in a situation?
I do think that there was a time like maybe like my sophomore and freshman year. Like I didn't really like do that many things and I didn't like challenge myself. But this year, my junior year, I've like really like did a lot of things. I done a lot of programs, I did a lot of service hours. And I just really try to put myself out there.
Yeah, so getting uncomfortable just in putting yourself out there. I feel like I've had that battle. Like I can think of times where what's a good example? Oh, I do another volunteering thing, and after the volunteering day, they do something for like the mentors, and you can go and do like a mentor happy hour and like socialize with other people. I'm a very introverted person, and so it's really easy for me to get to the end of the volunteering and be like, I did my, I just want to go home. And also, I know it's really good for me. I moved somewhere new. I want to meet people. It's not the most comfortable. I know that it takes a little bit more energy and a little bit more time, but to be able to like, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do the comfortable thing and I go home. And I do think the moments where I've recognized that and said, you know what? I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna see if I can meet some new people and network a little bit. And that's definitely the less comfortable choice. But at the end of it, I always feel better for having done that. In part because you meet somebody, right, in that example, but also I think back, Lizzie, to the conversation that we had earlier around like, oh, you just gain a little bit more confidence and trust in yourself when you see yourself do harder things and actually be able to follow through with them. Um, which I know that seems like maybe a silly small example, but again, these don't all have to be like these giant monumental decisions. They can be in like our small decisions that we're making every day. Okay, let's go to the next slide here. We are going to look at, I want us to start thinking about this semester. So we've got 12 weeks. And what is going to set us up for success as we go into the semester is if we have a clear idea of what's our intention, how do we want to grow, what do we want to accomplish over the next 12 weeks. So we want to have an idea in our minds going into this. If we just kind of go through the motions, where that's what we're going to get out of it. But if we can sit here today and say, you know what? I mean, we're just talking about discomfort and how it's a sign of progress, right? It's like, what's something that would maybe be a little bit uncomfortable for me in these next 12 weeks, but I know that if I do it, I'm going to grow as a person. Where do you feel like there's going to be opportunities to practice growth? Um, what intention do you want to set for this class and how you show up and what you're going to get out of it? So I want us to just start thinking about what these next 12 weeks are going to look like. We are going to give you a little bit of time to do that in the next workbook question. We're going to go back into our breakouts from earlier and have a chance to talk with each other. So maybe the idea when we do ultimately get into breakouts is share what you're hoping for the next 12 weeks, and maybe you get inspired by what somebody else is sharing, and then you can always tweak and we can make edits, right? But think about your mindset, think about opportunities for growth, think about how you personally want to show up over the next 12 weeks and what you want to accomplish. So, with that, we can go to the next workbook question and spend some time really painting a picture of that. Okay, let's do breakouts. See if we can maybe like 4 minutes. I think we've got some time. So the goal is everyone share something in your breakout around what kind of a person you want to be at the end of 12 weeks, what goals you have, anything that you just were reflecting on. And when you're not sharing, see if there's anything that someone in your group has shared that could maybe inspire your goals a little bit too. Okay. Okay. I was so impressed by my group's goals. Does anyone want to share? We'll do maybe one we'll do maybe one or two examples. Does someone want to share what they wrote down for how they want to show up, who they want to be, what kind of person they want to be by the end of these 12 weeks? If you say it out into the universe, we can all help you.
Um, can I talk?
Yeah.
Um, I wrote down that I want to be a more outspoken person. I feel like I do struggle a lot with public speaking, and I just want to get better at it with these 12 weeks. And I feel like right now is just an opportunity for me to speak out more and just like learn from it slash grow.
100%. And I know you are not the only person that has that goal. So and this is a great place to practice. Love that. So
Thank
one
you.
more person, of course. Does one more person want to share a goal or something that they want to work on for the next 12 weeks? Who you want to be, how you want to show up? Yeah, Lizzie.
I would like to be more extroverted and meet new people.
Awesome. We've got another talker. We're gonna do it. I have faith. Okay. Beautiful. So, last but not least, we are going to just do a 90 seconds of more workbook time. So, if anybody needs the link, oh wait, oh no, sorry, that's next. Okay. I'm one slide ahead of myself. Before we get into that, next week we are talking about investments. So last semester we did some stuff on banking and budgets. This semester we're going extra step and we're talking about investments. So we'll talk about how saving and investment actually works. We'll talk about compound interest, um, different factors to keep into consideration, like inflation and fees, and all of the nitty-gritty of things to keep in mind when we're thinking about investing. And we'll go through all the different types, the importance of diversifying, and just how to make sure that we kind of have the right mindset and the right amount of knowledge that we need as we're making some bigger financial decisions as we get older. So that I know everybody always likes the finance classes. So next week we're going to be talking about investments. And with that, I think we're gonna now we'll do 90 more seconds. Everyone has the workbook link. If you need it, holler, but it's in the chat. And just any of the questions that you weren't quite finished with, we'll have a minute or so to work on that right now. Okay. So, very quickly here, we have a couple of announcements, housekeeping. You guys have a field trip to the Junior Achievement Finance Park that there are two dates that you can pick from, either February 7th or February 14th. And we just want to flag that the RSVP deadline for that is January 30th. So that will be a recurring date, January 30th. Make sure you RSVP for that. We also have the next Ignite speaker series. The speakers Miller McCoy. That is happening on February 2nd. Again, the RSVP date for that is also January 30th. And just as a reminder, if you're ever not able to make one of these classes, that speaker series is a way to make up those points. So if you know you can't make a class for some reason and you know you can make the February 2nd speaker, that's a great opportunity too. And then we would love to be in the loop on if anyone is doing college match programs. So if you are involved in any sort of a college match program, there's a form that has just been beautifully dropped into the chat. And if you just guys want to fill out that form, just so that Youth Champions has some awareness of all the things you guys have going on, that's super helpful for us. Does anybody have any questions about any of those announcements? Wow. Look at the impeccable timing. Okay. It was so good seeing you guys. I know it's been a couple of months, but like I love seeing you guys. This has been really fun. Thank you so much for like sharing and engaging and being open to talking, and I will see you all next Wednesday. So thanks everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so
Have a
much,
good rest of your
Lily.
night.
Thank you so much, everyone. Please send an emoji before you go. We'd love to see them. See you guys. Bye, Idanya. Bye, Marco.